hello again. This is Merle Dembath, your conch economist. In addition to my career as an economics professor, I have been very active in real estate. I have owned and built several personal residences, and I've also invested in commercial property, multifamily properties. And for a period of time, I even purchased citrus groves in Central Florida and developed them into residential subdivisions. So today I'm going to start a series of short programs on buying real estate. I'm going to share with you some of my experiences and observations and ideas on this point, with the hope that it'll be of interest and assistance to you if you're interested in buying real estate here in 2026. If you know of anybody who's in that situation, call their attention, please, to this program. And it's always good if you will hit the like button and subscribe buttons to help us keep the program going. I want to start the series of programs and go through a step-by-step process here of buying real estate. And what to do is find the property that we want to buy. There's a number of sources for this. Of course, there's newspaper ads and signs on properties, but online services such as Zillow and Realtor.com are very popular ways to get property information and see pictures. I use these myself. My wife and I have been currently looking for some property to buy, and we use Zillow and other sources like that. And so today I want to spend some time on just making the initial contact to look at the property. And please keep in mind that if you're working with a real estate agent, every real estate agent that's involved in this property that you buy is going to have their hand out at closing to get a commission. And there's the listing agent, and then there's sometimes the buyer's agent, and they all want a percentage. And usually the percentage has been around 6%. This hasn't changed over a period of time, but please keep in mind that let's suppose that you're buying a $300,000 house, and the down payment, of course, if you had a 20% down payment, would be $60,000. If you're going to also pay out, if there was going to be a 6% real estate commission, that would be $18,000. Now think about it. That $18,000 represents 30% of the down payment. A down payment that maybe you took years to accumulate and to save up for. 30% of that at closing goes to people who have maybe at most spent a few days on the process here, or maybe just even a few hours. So think long and hard. My recommendation is that when you're looking for a property, contact the listing agent. The listing agent is probably entitled to, say, 3% commission, but if you contact a buyer's broker, the buyer's broker will want also a 30% commission, a 3% commission. In Florida, when you go to see a property, if you've called up in advance to see a property that's listed, you're probably going to be presented with something called a buyer's broker agreement. And you've got to be very, very careful on this, because they're going to put your name in here and the name of the broker. But I'm going to show on the screen here, there's some things you want to be very careful about. Is first of all, the length of time, how long this is going to be. Now, you only want this for 24 hours. I've had situations where they wanted me to sign something where they were locking me in for 6 months. That is totally unacceptable. Also, there's a section on here about the type of property. I'll show this on the line on the screen here in a few moments. You want that specific property. You want, if you're going to be using a buyer's broker, it's that buyer's broker for that specific property for a 24-hour period. That's it. Now, recently, my wife and I have been looking at property, and we contacted what we thought was the listing agent, and the listing agent apparently referred us to somebody else. And so this other broker shows up, and they want us to sign a broker's agreement, and in some cases 6 months. We have refused to see any property that has that kind of requirement. Just walk away from it. Don't even bother, because if you read the document, and you can get this online, they want you to be, they meaning the buyer's broker, they want you to be loyal to them, but they don't have any loyalty to you. They can show that property to anybody else, which of course would be expected. If you've got a property for sale, you would want to see it, but they don't want you to work with any other broker. This is not acceptable. You've got to do what is in your best interest. And my strong recommendation is go to the listing broker. Only deal with the listing broker, because there's going to be a 3% commission there, but if you deal with anybody else, the commission could be larger, which means that when you go in to negotiate, if you're dealing directly with the listing agent, you should be able to offer at least 3% below the asking price right away, because there's. Now, what if you went to a property and you were presented with this unacceptable type of arrangement, where they want 6 months in any property and so forth, and you refuse to see the property? But if you think you're still interested in it, um, I would suggest contact the owner. Now, the broker is not going to give you the name and address and phone number of the owner, so go knock on a neighbor's door. If you're thinking about buying the property, if you're really interested in it that much, you might as well start getting acquainted with the neighbors now. So try a neighbor, knock on a neighbor's door and say, hey, we're interested in the property next door, but we're having trouble working with the agent. And so can you, do you happen to know the name and phone number of how we could contact the owner? You've got to do what is in your best interest. And it's not in your best interest to pay out more real estate commission than is absolutely required or necessary. The listing agent has incurred some expenses. It costs money to maybe put the property in multiple listing. It probably costs money maybe to have photography, a photographer come out and make pictures of the property. There's connections, there's expenses connected with advertising. So the listing agent has some legitimate concern and reason here for collecting a fee. But this is the buyer's broker agreement I referred to earlier. At the very top here is where they will put in your name, where it says parties, your name, and then the name of the broker. And the form sections that I'm really concerned about for you, this section for term, be sure this is for 24 hours. I've had them put in as much as 6 months there, terminated at 11:59 p.m. on the certain date. And then down here, type of property, residential is okay, but this location is specific. You want an address in there. Don't put in the name of a city or a county or an area. You want a specific address. You want a specific address for no more than 24 hours. If they're not willing to do that, then walk away from it. Don't bother to go in. Wait for open house. Remember, a commission that is charged to the seller, maybe at closing, that money comes from the buyer's purchase money. When you can, try to be your own buyer's broker. Now, granted, if you're wanting to look at property outside the state, or in a distant location, maybe you need some type of help like that. But in today's age, with information available online and other forms of communication, there's a very good chance that you could be your own broker. In future programs, we will be looking at ways to make an offer, maybe ways to finance. We're going to cover a lot of different things about how to buy property. In some of my previous programs, I have made reference to real estate activities. I've looked at trends in housing prices. We've discussed mortgage rates. But in this series of programs, we're going to be looking in more detail at the actual mechanics of looking for property, buying property, making offers, and so forth. I hope you find these programs helpful. Please hit the subscribe button and the like button. Refer this program to other people who might be interested in buying property. And I'll see you next time.